Hello and welcome to another VOD review series, or perhaps this will just be one video. I'm not really sure. It might end up being a 2 or 3 part deal. For this video and for this series, I'm hopping over to NA West and we're going to take a look at 100 Thieves ARKHRAM, sorry. And the reason for that is because, as you can see, ARKHRAM literally destroyed everyone. 292 points, the person in second place had 219. And I would just like to point out that is with this Game 5 98th place in which ARKHRAM died to a henchman, and it's pretty funny, but also is nice to know that even the best person in the West dies a henchman every once in a while, because I think everyone can relate to that on some level, because the henchmen are kind of crazy. And we'll probably take a look at that at some point. It'll be really short, and it's just pretty funny. But I kind of want to just not go through every single match individually, and rather I kind of want to just look at, I'm going to look at each match and pull out specific things that I think are worth kind of looking into and kind of analyzing and inspecting and kind of figuring out how ARKHRAM was able to come out with just such an incredible performance. But before we jump into any of the games, let's just take a look at the information right here on this screen and what we can learn and what we can gather from this. So just off the bat, he had one victory royale, which is good. I mean, a lot of these people won't even have any. Well, these all have one. Oh, Kai Tricks with 2. Let's see, person's Epic Whale, who is a great controller player, didn't have any victory royale. So you can do really well without having a Vicroy. But ARKHRAM coming in with 1, average elims 2.5, and I'm pretty sure that ARKHRAM had the most elims out of everyone in West in this tournament. So that number is going to be higher than everyone's. And if we just take a look at like the top 10 here, 2.1, 2.3, 2.2, 2.2, 1.8, 1.6, 1.6, 2.2, and 1.7. So out of the top 10, ARKHRAM coming in with the best average elims, 2.5, which he got 120 points just from elims, which if my math is correct, I think that's 30 eliminations over the course of all 12 games, that's a lot of elims. Average placement 18.2, and keep in mind this is with the 98th place finish, he was the first person to die in that game, where he died to a henchman, and even with that game he has an average placement of 18.2. Which may sound like kind of high, but actually it's incredible. And if we just take a look at the top 10, you'll see how amazing that is. So second place, average placement is 40.6. That is a huge discrepancy between 18.2 and 40.6. Third place, 41.9. Fourth place, 40.8. And then we have 39.8. And then 30.9. And then 28.4. And then Makin, I'm not sure how to say that, has 19.2, which is the closest that I've seen, and probably the closest to what ARKHRAM's is, which is pretty impressive, and he comes in 8th place, which to me means that he just had less kills, most likely. And you can see 76 points coming from eliminations compared to ARKHRAM's 120 points coming from eliminations. So Makin coming in with a really good, strong performance in this tournament, but just doesn't quite have the eliminations. And I mean, even if he had 120 points from eliminations, I don't think he wouldn't have won. Yeah, he definitely wouldn't have won, but would have bumped him up quite a lot if he had more elims. Okay, so then we're looking at 40.5 average placement in 9th place, and in 10th place we have 24.7. So ARKHRAM's average placement is quite incredible, and again, that's with this 98th place finish in Game 5 where he died to a henchman. It's pretty insane. So as you can see, I mean, first place, 8th, 23, 27, there's the 98, and then 9th, 4th, 2nd, 23rd, 17th, 4th, and 2nd. I mean, just really, 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 really incredible performance. His ability to get to late game is, at least in this tournament, seems unmatched, unrivaled. And so I'm hoping that in this series I'm going to be able to jump in and kind of figure out how he was able to do that, or at least enlighten myself and you as to how he was able to do it. So, that was average placement. Then average points, 24.3, which obviously is going to be higher than everyone else because he has the most points. And then, so 41% of his points came from elims, 59% came from placement. And that's a pretty good distribution, and going to be probably similar to what most people's are. Yeah, I mean, most of these numbers are going to be around 50-50 for the people that place at the top. So nothing too crazy there. But just his ability to get to late game and then to get elims as well, which if you're getting to late game, you're probably going to pick up 1 or 2 elims here and there. So it kind of makes sense. Like if you just are able to get into late game, then you're probably going to have a decent amount of kills too. Except in this case, Makan or Macon seems to get to late game pretty often. Maybe he just had more games where he died just much earlier. 50th place, 49th place. I mean, he's getting to late game quite a lot. He kind of went on a dry spell here in the last 4 games and no kills. I mean, he had a lot of kills going in to game 8, but then 8, 9, 10, 11 had 0 kills. Elims, excuse me, they're not kills, they're eliminations. So yeah, that's a look at what we can learn from this screen and the information that this gets us. I think a lot of people probably don't often look at this and really analyze it, but I think you can learn a decent amount from this. So now let's look at his match history here, which I've kind of already glanced at, but first game's going to come in first place, and then 8th, and then, so, I mean, I guess I'm just going to hop into game 1, and then I'll kind of pick out some things that I want to talk about, and then we'll move on from there. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and again, I'm not sure if this might end up being a 2 or 3 part series, but I don't know, if I can fit it all into one video, then that'll be cool too. Alright, first thing I want to point out is that ARKHRAM is landing at this little base, this henchman base, north of the orchard, and you can get a heavy sniper here, so this is a pretty nice place to land at. And also there's a side grade machine, and you can potentially you could end up getting a gold or purple heavy or AK or whatever it's called, and then you can side grade that to a SCAR, which is what a lot of people do. So getting this location for free is a huge deal, and I mean, I'm pretty sure he has this for free the whole tournament. But what I want to do is look at the map really quickly and just see how many people get to land by themselves at a decent location, right? So, which some people might have already, yeah, a few people already died, but I'm not gonna go ahead and I'll just go ahead and leave it and just kind of take a look. So, I mean, let's say there's 1 person at Salty. That's a decent place. Several people at Sweaty. Several people at Grotto. Several people at Retail. Only 1 person at Agency, maybe. People sharing Frenzy. But so you can take a look. I mean, I'm just trying to point out that, like, most people are going to be contested, or you're kind of sacrificing and landing somewhere where your loot's not going to be too great, but you're doing it in order to not be contested off of the drop, and so that you can have a better chance of getting and rotating into mid game and then making it into late game. However, I think that in this case, ARKHRAM is up here by himself and is going to get really decent loot. I mean, with the potential for a SCAR and a heavy sniper, for a guaranteed heavy sniper, the potential for a SCAR, and decent loot at this place. Not a whole lot of loot, but it's not bad. And then what he does is he's going to rotate north. Instead of rotating, what I've often seen people do is go down to the slurp truck down here. ARKHRAM's actually going to rotate north and hit all of this up here and loot all of this, and then also probably get some fish if possible. So, I don't know, I just think it's really good to be able to land by yourself, so just that you don't even have to do any sort of 50-50 crazy thing at the beginning. So another thing I want to point out here, this is after he's kind of rotated out of his landing zone, and he rotates around to Steamy, and he's going to use the whatever these are called, where you can fly up into the air through these, whatever they look like. To me, they look like nuclear reactors or something. But he's going to use that to rotate into the circle, which is down this direction. So he came from here and then went up here and then around the water and then to Steamy, and then uses the whatever these are to fly into the zone. Just something to think about. You know, always be thinking about how can you rotate the best possible way and the safest possible way. And I definitely think that's a really smart rotation. Well, it'll be interesting to see if he utilizes that in any of the other games. It probably just depends on where the circle is, whether or not he's going to go and utilize that Steamy rotation. So, okay, so the only other thing that I really want to point out, and from game 1, even though this is the only game that he got the Victory Royale in, there's nothing crazy happens here. It's just really solid rotations, and then a little bit of luck. Like there was at one point he literally just ran into a whole pile of loot that someone had died. It wasn't his kill, but then someone just left like all of the mats, and he was able to expand his base out really big and then go and just replenish his mats. And then in rotation, a bunch of people used the grotto wind tunnel to rotate to the first moving zone, and he did that as well. And then he literally landed in a box with someone else and just had better aim with a shotgun the down dude, the shotgun the guy down, got the elim, and that guy was the person who had the mythic scar and the grappler. So then he picks up the grappler and is able to take easy height from there. Someone contests height, he falls down, but then later on, like after that, the person that was on height, I have no clue. I don't really know what even happened to that person, but ARKHRAM was just able to just take height for free right after that. But the thing is, he has the grappler anyway, so he would have been able to most likely take height anyway, even if it wasn't just free. So nothing crazy happened. It was just, you know, really solid rotations and protecting himself with the help of some things that were just sort of RNG luck. You know, it's like sometimes you just get a little lucky. And I think that in any game that when somebody wins, I mean, a lot of it is chance. A lot of it is things that just kind of just happen, and you know, you get a little lucky and then you capitalize on that luck that you get. I'm not saying that there's not skill. There's absolutely skill involved, and ARKHRAM is obviously an extremely skillful player. So it's not that he's not good. I'm not saying that. Please don't hear me say that. But I'm just saying there are things that happened that just enabled him to really capitalize really well and pull out the Victory Royale in this game. Alright, as you can see here in Game 2, ARKHRAM is upgrading from a green tack to a purple tack over in Craggy. So landing at the regular spot, got the heavy sniper and the scar, and then rotated to up north to the water and farmed up, and then came to Craggy and went ahead and upgraded to the purple tack. And I'm just pointing that out because I think a lot of people are afraid that they're wasting mats when they do an upgrade like that, and it is a lot of mats. But also keep in mind that he has to rotate from Craggy all the way down to the circle, and so he knows, or at least he feels like he knows, that he's going to be able to farm up all the way along his way through Craggy and then also down into the circle and gain back those materials that he used to do the upgrade. And I really just think that that's something that a lot of people don't think about. Like, if you have to rotate a decent ways, like there's plenty of resources along your path to that circle, but you also need to make sure that it's not so far away that you're going to be slowed down too much by having to farm up, that you're going to get hit by the storm. Like, there's plenty of things that you have to think about in that situation. But having a purple tack over a green tack is a huge deal. Like, I mean, that's the difference between killing someone and not killing someone, but just from that extra damage that you're getting from the purple tack. So definitely something to think about, and I think a really good decision on his part. So not a whole lot to talk about here in Game 3. Pretty standard rotation, pretty standard beginning of the game and middle game. So I just kind of want to take a look at the this one elim that he gets, and then how he dies right after. I think he gets a little greedy for this kill here, for this elim here, and gets punished because of it. Gets lasered to 21 health by someone that was just kind of happened to be looking at him that time. I mean, it's a little bit unlucky that that guy was just looking right at him when he edited down to go try to get that elim, but he didn't have to go for that elim there. Well, he did because he has no mats, but he could have, you know, tried to kind of hide behind someone else's builds. And this is, he gets heavy sniped on, but sees the heavy snipe about to happen, it looks like, and then is able to kill the person, or elim the person who heavy sniped on him, but then immediately gets jumped on by Midi. Okay, so this is the second game in a row where ARKHRAM has sort of rotated into Craggy from his landing spot here, into Craggy, and then all the way north along the water to get to this side of the circle. And as you can see, he definitely seems to be doing this for a reason. And that reason is that this whole space here is pretty open and not congested, whereas this direction, like after he rotates to Craggy, if he were to come straight in here, as you can see, he's looking at way more congestion here. And I mean, there are obviously reasons for that. There's more landing spots all in this area, and at the Shark, only a few people are going to be landing here. So he's fully aware of that, and fully aware that it's going to be much safer for him to rotate around the water, even though he does run into a few people here and does actually take a few tags, but it's obviously to him much better than rotating through here, right? And I'm really trying to pay attention to how he's rotating because he's so consistently getting to late game that I'm trying to figure out exactly what he's thinking in terms of how he's rotating. So I just wanted to point that out, that it's 2 games in a row that he's done that. It's been similar circles 2 games in a row to where he's done the same type of rotation over towards the shark, where it's going to be much less congested. I also want to point out here that in contrast to FaZe Mega, who I just VOD reviewed all 12 games from his tournament on the East, in contrast to him, ARKHRAM is rotating late, as you can see. He's rotating right here, right along the edge of the storm. And Mega seem to always want to rotate like as soon as possible and get into this circle as soon as possible. And I'm not saying that ARKHRAM doesn't want to do that, but for some reason he found it okay in this game to do like a late rotation. It just goes to show that, you know, there's not one way that is going to only work. It is possible to rotate along the line of the storm and still be safe, as long as you sort of know where you are and you know that the area that you're in is going to be as safe as possible. Okay, so to conclude game 4, he's just out of mats here, and has been pretty basic rotations, but then he kind of was in a couple of situations to where he had to burn a lot of mats to stay safe. So he's just really out of mats, but because he has a heavy sniper, which is so dangerous late game, not to mention dangerous during all the rest of the game as well, the heavy sniper can put you in a position to get you that refresh kill, that refresh elim that you just absolutely desperately need when you're out of mats. And that's what he's going to go for here. It doesn't quite pay off for him, but I'm pretty sure it pays off in other games, and we'll probably see that later on. But I mean, this is a perfect situation to go for it, but Jeffers hears him behind him, turns around and edits him down, and then he gets picked up by Godku. So yeah, I mean, just a series of unfortunate things that happened there, but still not a bad performance, still in top 25 or something. Okay, so this is game 5, and this is the game where ARKHRAM literally dies in he's the first person to get eliminated, and he's eliminated by a henchman. And so I'm just showing this because, I mean, it's not really that big of a deal. It's just funny, especially now with hindsight, the fact that he won the whole tournament. He can probably even look back and think it was funny, but I'm sure at the time he was quite frustrated, because what happens here is pretty silly, and I'm gonna like kind of let it play out so you can kind of see. But what's gonna happen is, here's ARKHRAM right here, and he's gonna come in and land in this door because there's a chest in there, right? Well, normally the only henchman up here is this guy, and this is the guy that you get the heavy sniper from. This guy, but also roams up and down these stairs, right? Well, ARKHRAM is really used to just coming in and doing what he's going to do, and then eliminating this dude and getting the heavy sniper from him. But this guy has other plans. Has a complete mind of his own here. So I'm going to slow it down a little bit so you can see it from this perspective. This dude's already shooting at ARKHRAM, which I'm sure he hears it, but he probably thinks it's this guy, which I think this guy actually shoots with a pistol, so maybe he could have recognized that it was the second henchman. But what he didn't anticipate is that this henchman is just full on charging, right? And so you think, oh, he's going to stop and he's going to either open this door, if he can do that, or he's going to start breaking the wall. So ARKHRAM should be fine, but what happens is pretty ridiculous. Now I'm going to move inside here. And as you can see, ARKHRAM opens the door, or maybe the henchman opened the door. I'm not really sure. Either way, the henchman runs straight in. No, ARKHRAM opened the door. I saw the animation. And the henchman just like is right at the door right when he opens the door, and just immediately obviously is going to lock onto ARKHRAM's face. ARKHRAM hasn't taken his minis yet, and he just gets obliterated by the auto aim from the henchman. So, you know, there's not a whole lot you can do in that situation, but it just kind of sucks for him in that moment. But like I said, in hindsight, it's pretty funny. But it's nice to know that even the best players in the world sometimes get killed by henchmen. Okay, I want to quickly point out just an example of the importance of knowing your drop site in and out, right? So here's ARKHRAM looking all around because he spotted a llama, right? And he's looking all around to see if anyone else is even going to contest anywhere near it. Notices, okay, I think I'm clear to go ahead and go for the llama first. So this is risky, but worth it if it pays off. If you're sure that no one's there and no one's going to like be pushing you with a weapon before you have a weapon, then you can go ahead and go for a llama. And granted, he also knew that chest was there too. Now here's the part that is smart and is something that you need to make sure that you know your landing spot. He knew that he could go into that porta potty and come out right where he needed to be, and it saves so much time. Imagine if he didn't know that, right? He would have had to run all the way up here and wasted a whole bunch of time. But because he knew that porta potty was going to take him here, then he just, it's almost like he didn't even waste hardly any time. He just got the llama, got the chest, and then was here where he wanted to be. Now, obviously, that's a pretty obvious example. Like, most people who land at this spot understand where that porta potty is going. I'm just saying, it's just an example of the importance of knowing your landing spot in and out. Okay, so to finish up game 6, I just want to look at how he dies here, and it's quite unfortunate because he's doing a really good job of playing the front of the zone here as it's moving. He's trying to stay as forward as possible, but now it's kind of getting away from him as he's reloading everything. But he does have one flopper, so he's fully aware like how he can tank a little bit of storm damage. But he ends up tanking a little bit too much storm damage here. I'm not really sure why. Like, it didn't seem at that point that he needed to stop rotating up this mountain. Oh, he has 0 mats. Well, that's a good reason. Sorry, I completely did not even notice that. So, but it's still, I mean, I don't know. So he tries to go around here to like find a pathway up, but he literally has no mats. So, I mean, and he can't break that metal fast enough, so he just dies to the storm. But I just wonder if it would have been possible to follow this guy that he tried to shotgun. Could he not have followed that dude, maybe? I mean, I guess he just didn't want to push him because that guy might have been waiting for him. But I feel like the storm was pushing him, so he probably had to move a little bit. But he probably, I don't even know if he actually did. I don't know. That's an unfortunate series of events there for him. That he runs out of mats, so he has to get a refresh elim, but isn't able to find one, and then dies to storm.